Hi, I finally this weekend got round to seeing Eternals, the latest film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, co-written and directed by Chloé Zhao, this year's winner of the Oscar for Best Director. It's a much more of a cosmic entry into the series than before, and we're given considerable backstory that the Eternals were beings enlisted by the Celestials, essentially gods in the religious term, who created the universe eons ago and now send out the Eternals to wage war against deviants, creatures that threaten life on various civilized planets. A group of Eternals has landed on Earth 7,000 years ago and has been keeping an eye over humanity in the intervening period. But they've gone their separate ways in the last few centuries, and now they are called again because the deviants are back and there is something far greater going on, in which one of their number might be involved. It is a curiously dull, dry, boring affair. It's the second longest film in the MCU to date. It's over 2.5 hours. It's also the worst reviewed film they've had so far, although audience response has been a bit more positive. I found it to be quite a slog. There's definitely a lack of action scenes. Instead, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of talking, but it's all very superficial. Although we're told that the Earth is under threat and that there's only a few days until the planet is destroyed, there are very few human characters in the film. It feels all weirdly depopulated, almost as though it had been filmed during lockdown, although obviously it was done some years ago. We have the 10 main Eternals, with a starry cast including Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie in a weirdly small role, their leader played by Salma Hayek, which is quite an original piece of casting. But we really only have two human supporting characters. The love interest for Gemma Chan's character, played by Kit Harington, who only appears in a few scenes, and the comic relief, the valet of Kingo, played by Kumail Nanjiani, who's positioned himself as a single dynasty of various Bollywood movie stars, with the character accompanying him as his valet and filming a documentary about what the Eternals are really like. So we never really get a sense of this great planet threatening situation because we see so few human beings. We see so little evidence of what's under threat. And although there are cutaway sequences of their lives over the millennia, and even an animated scene of what will happen when the apocalypse does come, it's all very abstract. It's all very nebulous, and it's very little that an audience can actually get a handle on in an emotional sense. We're told that the world is ending, but we're never really given a reason to care. We're never really told what's at stake or who's going to be threatened. The idea of the end of the world is a very abstract concept that's hard for people to envision. So it helps to actually be shown it, to be shown the stakes, or even shown the people who are supposed to be caring about, the ordinary people in the street. And the film gives us none of that. The characters are generally a bit flat and rather unconvincing. The fact that they're all 7,000 years old is sort of brushed over in terms of the characters themselves. They don't seem to feel old or weary in any way. One character apparently has developed so many memories over the over the millennia, that she started getting the brain scramblies, which winds up becoming relevant to the overall story and some twists in the narrative later on. But we're never really given much of a sense that these are ancient figures. Again, it's too abstract, and we're not given enough to hang our emotions on and become invested in the story. As a result, I actually found it to be quite dull, quite unengaging. Attractively made in places, Zhao has a particular knack, or at least penchant for filming scenes at magic hour, particularly on beaches or desert landscapes. And it's impressive that the film is at least putting a gay character front and center, one of the Eternals having settled down in a relationship with a human man with whom he has a son. But these advances aside, it's not a particularly good film. It doesn't seem to have much relevance going forward, as um, the stakes seem so huge. It's hard to know how it's going to be followed up in the films in the near future, the next Spider-Man or Doctor Strange films that are coming up the pipe in the next 6 months or so. So on that level, I would say it's kind of a failure. It's quite dull. It's unengaging. It doesn't really work as an action film. It doesn't really work as entertainment, to be honest. And it's all just a bit Well, it's a bit too up itself, really.